Okay, so still on 6.3, exponential functions. Yesterday you should have graphed some problems. You should have done a matching, and then you should have done 6 graphing problems, 25 through 30. So, but there was other parts of the directions that I told you to ignore. I said just graph. So we're going to talk about the rest of it today. So it says compare the graph to the parent function and describe the domain and range. So if we had a problem like this, okay, the parent function part is the 3 to the x. That's not an x, that's 2. The 3 to the x power. So whatever's in the parentheses and then the x power, we can just ignore like what's happening. Okay, and so if I were to, I should have put that f of x in there. If I were to graph this one on the right side, okay, remember we're just going to plug in 0, 1, and 2. If I plug in 0, 3 to the 0 power equals 1. 3 to the first power equals 3. And 3 to the second power equals 9. And then when we graph it, 0, 1, 1, 3, and then 2, 9 is, way up there. And the graph would look like this, and it would go like that. Okay, so over here, when I plug in my 0, 1, and 2, I get 3 to the 0 power is 1, times 2 is 2. And then 3 to the first power is 3, times 2 is 6. And then 3 to the second power is 9, or 18. And so when you graph it, it starts higher, if you compare them, and then 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2, like 18's like, way up here or something crazy. It still starts flat, it just goes up. That's not even like that good. It goes up just a lot faster. Okay, and so what makes it go up a lot faster is the 2 that's in the front. Okay, and so that's really where the information that we're going to be dealing with today is going to be, is in the front. Okay, so when you see a number in the front, so if you remember yesterday, we said that all these graphs are in a and then b to the x power form. So when the a part is bigger than 1, we've used these terms before, but not since like chapter 4, so it's been a long time. So when the a is greater than 1, we call it a vertical stretch. This graph stretched out and went a lot higher, and it's a vertical stretch by 2. Okay, and then here's somewhat the easy part. The domain is all real numbers on every problem. Okay? Every problem. Domain, all real numbers. And then the range, this graph goes up. And remember, I should have drawn this a little bit better down here on the bottom. But remember that the graph will never go below the x-axis right there. So the range is y is greater than 0. On all the problems today, the range is going to be greater than 0 or less than 0. There's no other answers. It's possible to have a greater, like different numbers. It's just we're not going to do those kind of problems. Okay. So the domain, all real numbers every time. The range, greater than 0 or less than 0, just depending on the problem. All right, so let's kind of... you don't need to graph the problems today. You should copy the graphs that you did yesterday. Okay, it's the same problems that you're going to do. You're just doing the comparing part. Okay, so if I had a problem like this... Okay, we're just looking at that part in the front. Okay, so if we go way back, we have two things in the front. We have a negative sign in the front, and we have a 3 in the front. They're two separate things, even though they absolutely look like one thing, and maybe I've confused you by putting one box around it, so maybe I should kind of put a box around the 3 and a box around the negative sign. So the negative sign means we have a reflection, which means the graph is going to go down. So we talked about that yesterday when we talked about our 4 different kinds of graphs. Excuse me, when we have like a negative number, the graph is going to go down, which means we have a reflection over the x-axis. And then the 3 means a vertical stretch by 3. Okay, so I said the graph is going to go down. I'm not going to graph the whole thing, but the graph, would go like this, and then it would go down. And I drew it down like a lot quicker because that 3 is actually going to make it go down like faster like that. Okay, domain, all real numbers, and the range, because the graph goes down, y is less than 0. So if you have a reflection, the range is less than 0 for this problem, or for the problems that we're doing. Again, it's possible to be different, but for ours, it won't be. If you don't have a reflection, there's no negative sign in the front, then it's going to be greater than 0. Okay? So let's see, if we had one like this, keep writing a 2 up there. Okay, so now this A number in the front, so remember this is like the A and this is the B. We don't even need to look at the B. But the A number is between 1 and 0. Okay, 1/3. So when it's between 1 and 0, we have what's called a vertical shrink by 1/3. So this graph, well, I'll come back to that. Domain, all real numbers, and the range, it's a positive 1/3, so greater than 0. Okay, so this graph, like vertical shrink, like what the heck does that mean? It just means the graph's a lot flatter. it still starts out like this and it just goes up a lot slower. Still goes up like that, but it takes longer to go up, where the other ones, were kind of coming and like going up like over here, or even like when it was like that 2 in the front or 3 in the front, it went up like that. So the fraction between 0 and 1 just takes longer to go up. It goes farther to the right before it moves like up. Okay, but again, you don't have to graph them unless you just copy them from yesterday's assignment. If you didn't do yesterday's assignment, maybe graph them first and then do today's assignment. But do not combine the assignments. So if you didn't do yesterday's assignment, do it, turn it in, then do this one like separately. Don't combine them into one piece of paper. Okay, so you're just gonna do problems 25 through 30 again on page 310. Yesterday you graphed them, so today you're going to write 3 things for every problem. Well, it could be 4, depends if there's a negative sign or not. But you're going to write the transformation. It's going to either be a stretch or a shrink, one of the two, and then it could also be a reflection if there's a negative sign in the front. And then you're going to write the domain. It's all real numbers for every problem. And then you're going to write the range, which is either going to be greater than 0 or less than 0. If that number, the A number, is positive, it's going to be greater than 0. If it's negative, it's going to be less than 0. Okay, again, it's possible to have different numbers, it just won't be on ours. So I don't want you to walk away and think forever and ever it's that way, but we're just doing kind of the introductory level of these kind of problems. All right? Okay, so only 6 problems to do on a Friday, so hopefully get it done today. You don't have to worry about it over the weekend. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.